craziness.
Wow.
Wow.
Two in one.
2 games are flipped incorrectly. This is just outrageous. Ugh. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Ethan.
And welcome to Game on Board Game, a channel where we talk about board games and do fun games and challenges based on our love for them.
So on this channel, we have been undertaking a challenge to try to play every board game in our collection. The way we figured all the numbers out, that came out to 135 games that we're trying to play during the course of this year. So in this video, we're going to give you a monthly update, like we've been doing, to see how many more of those games we were able to check off of the list on the progress towards that challenge overall. Right?
Yep, exactly.
So in the month of May, we played 11 new games that we were able to check off, which is basically exactly at keeping it pace for us.
Yes.
So we were already pretty well ahead of schedule. We had a little bit of buffer room with some games, and so hitting that 11 threshold allows us to pretty much maintain that and continue to have a bit of a buffer moving into, the second half of the year here.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
I would say overall, kind of a lighter month for us in terms of like the types of games we played.
I don't know. We got some big ones, some small ones, but...
We played some games with family. We played a lot of what we would call like coffee table games.
Yes.
So ones that have like less of a smaller footprint, like table-wise, and we can kind of play them like in our living room versus like at our game table.
Yes, that's
Which
true.
Those tend to be lighter games for the most part.
All right, so if you haven't watched one of these before, we're just going to give like a quick rundown of the game and kind of talk about like our experience of playing it this month and how we enjoyed it.
Definitely.
All right, we're starting with the big boy.
Yes. Let's get into it with Ark Nova. This is one of our most played games, actually.
Yes.
And one of our most beloved games between the two of us, I think.
Yes, I think so too.
You probably still like it a little bit more than I do. But it's one of those games that has really just been a huge hit for both of us, and that's why it's been played so much, right? There's a lot of games where we have very sort of differing opinions on, But this is one you had your eye on just because the theme really appealed to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this game, you are basically building a zoo. So you have to create different enclosures, put your animals in, and then you play different animals in order to, build out your entire zoo. You can also build like pavilions and kiosks and other fun things for your guests to do. And then you also have different conservation projects that you are shooting for. There are 3 different tracks that you'll be moving up. So there's an appeal track, reputation track, and conservation track. And so on your turn, you have 5 different cards, which give you like 5 different options of actions that you can do. And depending on where they are, whether they're at space like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, that's like how strong of an action you can take at that space. So if you're playing something at a 5, you're going to have much more leeway and ability to do that action versus if you're playing something at a 1. And sometimes you have to wait to get your cards up that high. We do have the Marine Worlds expansion, so that is like included in ours, and that just basically added like cute little animal meeples, but also marine animals, which I love, like water and
huge appeal for you with that as well, right?
Yeah. And the little animal meeples are just super, super cute and make it, I don't know, more fun and adorable.
This is a hugely popular game. I think it sits at like number 3 overall right now on the Board Game Geek Top 100, which honestly, as much as we like it, I still think that that's crazy high for it. I don't know like what it is about this one, but it is a great game. I have liked it a lot more since we got Marine Worlds. There's just a couple little tweaks that brought to the gameplay that do add to the overall experience, and more so, just the actual component upgrades. Yes. I love playing with my little penguins.
Yes, it's super
Makes
fun.
me want to pull this out a lot more.
Yeah, I always play with the little fish. Those also give you, like, you get 2 special cards. So instead of the main base, like 5 action cards, you still get those action cards, but you'll get maybe an animal card that has an extra special ability, or you'll get a sponsors card that has an extra special ability. So that is also like a fun little twist on the game that's just made it really interesting and fun. This play of this game, I think, was the worst play ever that I have had.
Yeah, well, for you specifically.
For me specifically, yes. I've literally never had this happen. But I feel like I just got like very locked out of doing anything. All my action cards were just never where they needed to be when I needed them there. I think that like for the most part that doesn't really happen that often, but I couldn't get money to be able to play things. The cards that I was getting were too expensive to play. So.
This is a game that's usually pretty evenly matched between us as well.
It is, yeah.
It's pretty 50-50 on who's going to take it. I might be like slightly ahead on like overall win percentage, but like you'd certainly get your games in as well.
Yeah.
And so it's almost always the way that this game ends, I should say. Two of the tracks Ashley mentioned, the appeal points and the conservation points, those are working in opposite directions around the board, and you need to try to cross the two tracks together by getting enough points on each of them.
Right. And
that
once
triggers
they
the end of the
cross,
game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Triggers the end of the game.
So it's very rare that one of us will trigger the end of the game, and with the final round that the other player gets to take, they won't also at least cross. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what I mean. It's usually like a matter of points. And so this time, I don't think you were in the negatives, basically, right?
Yeah, I did not cross.
Which is
rare for me. Yeah.
So this is one that's going to need to hit the table again because Ashley can't let that just stand, until next year or something. But I'm glad we finally did get it played at least, because this is one we kept looking at on the shelf and being like, have we really not played that yet this year? Like that's crazy that it's been this long.
We play this game like usually at least maybe once a month. Like we play it pretty frequently. I also think that, a lot of times people talk about like the length of this game and that it can take a really long time. For us, because we've played it so much, I think like you get much faster at making decisions and knowing what your actions are going to be for next time, or even like a couple of rounds ahead. I think
also if you're just taking better actions and playing more streamlined, that will allow you to end it faster by being more efficient in getting points.
Right.
Yeah. If you're not like wasting time dilly-dallying around. Did that kind of poor experience like taint or impact your overall impression of the game?
No, not at all.
Just made you want to play it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of like what you hope for.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it invigorates you.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, Ark Nova is one of our most favorite games, I think, for both of us, but it's also just like a great hit.
And a lot of other people, clearly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why it's in the top 100. And why it's so high in the top 100. So the next one we're going to talk about is Villainous. Specifically, like, we got a new expansion of it, and so we played the Sugar and Spice expansion.
This was another game that usually hits the table pretty often for us, and we were looking at it like, have we really not crossed Villainous off yet for this challenge? Like, that's crazy. But this is one that we got for Christmas, this expansion specifically. So I knew we hadn't played like this one at least. I figured we would have played like one of the older ones sometime this year already, but like, so this was the first time we got to play this. Compared to a lot of the expansions, this only has 2 characters instead of the standard 3 that many of the boxes originally came with. And we only played 1 round of it, so normally like it'd be nice if we could have like each played both of the 2 characters and like swapped off and seen. But give them give your rundown or whatever it was.
Okay, I was going to say, you gotta let me talk about it.
Well, I never want to do that.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited!
Yeah. Okay, so Villainous is a game where you are playing as, specifically we have the Disney ones. There are 3 different versions, but you're playing as a Disney villain, and you're trying to defeat the heroes in your realm. There's some sort of objective for the villain that is very thematic for the movie and what that villain was supposed to do in the movie. You have like a realm where you're playing your villain character. You can go to different places in that realm, and then the other person can fate you. So for the most part, you're kind of like doing your own thing, trying to get your objective, but then there are fate cards, which are the hero cards that come out and cover different spaces on your board. So it might limit the actions you can take at different places, or it might like make you go back further on the objective that you're trying to do, or make it more difficult to complete that objective.
Yeah, I would say the biggest impact that the Fate deck has is the hero cards that come out.
Right.
Because not only will they have an effect that impedes you and presents an obstacle in some way, but they also literally occupy spaces on your board that take away certain actions.
Right.
Right. So that's where like a big part of like hindering the other player comes in.
Yes.
A lot of times if I see a hero, I'll just like automatically choose that so that I can block you out of potentially like fading me back or something, regardless of whether what it does is actually useful in that situation of the game or not.
Right.
Right.
We own all of Disney Villainous except Oogie Boogie, just because it's a one-off and we just haven't bought it, which is honestly kind of outrageous because you love Oogie Boogie and Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's because the box isn't the same size.
I know.
So like, where are you gonna put it on the shelf?
I agree. This has been a real struggle for us.
I do appreciate that even though they went down to only 2 characters in some of these compared to 3, they kept those boxes the same size at least.
Right.
And even though it's the same size box, they also adjusted the price point to reflect that.
Yes.
So like, that was a nice thing about this version.
Right.
But what did you think of the character you played? who was...
I was Shere Khan.
And I was...
King Candy.
King Candy. I don't know his name.
Yeah.
But, yes.
I think he was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I definitely feel like... I mean, we only played one round of it, so I feel like I need to get a better feel for him. Like,
sure.
you know, we've played most of the other Villainous characters several times each, for sure.
Yeah, we've done an entire Villainous tournament that we've alluded to on this channel. Mm-hmm. It's a game that we've talked about a ton, even though we hadn't played it technically yet in 2025. You can check out a lot of our videos. You know, we discussed like playing it at different player counts and how the fate actions impact that. Right. We just did a quiz where we're trying to guess the quotes that are on the character boards. Be sure to check that out. It was a really good time. Unexpected upset victor. No spoilers.
Yeah.
You could probably tell though. And it's again an old classic for us. You know,
it's one of the first games that I introduced you to.
It was
for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a game that I've just had a really long time. So, and this has been one of my favorite games. I think it has been my favorite game for a very long time. I don't know if it still is. It would still be in my top, 10 at least. So yeah, that's Villainous. We absolutely love Villainous. Like I said, one of my favorite games for sure, and also one that brought him into the hobby as well.
I guess that's true. I don't really think about it like that, but
yeah,
technically.
All right, the next one we're going to talk about is Side Effects. So this is a game that I think isn't super well known. It's Definitely a game that we kind of just picked up at a store once, and it looked really fun. Basically, the idea of Side Effects is that you are playing, you have 4 different ailments in front of you. So some sort of mental trauma that you have. So it could be anxiety or depression or suicidal thoughts or something like that. And you're trying to treat the illnesses that you have with medication or with therapy. And it's a fairly it's very light. It's a super simple game. I've experienced anxiety in my life before, and so I actually got this around the time that I was experiencing really bad anxiety, and it just felt very cathartic to me to be curing anxiety or depression or things like that. So it was something that just sort of appealed to me kind of because of that, but it's also just become a game that's it's very easy to pull out. It's fun, and it always just gives me a good feeling of I'm helping cure people.
Yeah, I also think you like that it's a little bit of a spooky vibe.
Yes.
Right, if you look at the cover and the art of many of the cards features skeletons type things, so it's almost kind of like a Halloween type of game, which is a very popular theme for you as well. So I think it was just eye-catching even maybe before you kind of knew what the subject matter was going to be.
Yeah.
But then it hit in a different way.
Yeah.
But as far as a game, it's a card game, and it's very much just a luck of the draw type of card game as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously you're making some decisions and stuff, but a lot of it comes down to just kind of who can get their afflictions and their cures to line up correctly faster. Yeah,
so part of what you're trying to do is place the right medication on your ailments that you have. However, as with mental health medications in general, a lot of them have side effects. Mm-hmm. So they can, if you cure, for example, madness, that may cause tremors. So then you now have tremors to deal with. So you actually if you cure something, it's not necessarily it hasn't completely gone away on you. Mm-hmm. So the other person can play that side effect on you, and then you have to cure that disease now. The only thing that fully cures and gets rid of something is therapy. Mm-hmm. And so therapy takes care of it completely, and then you get to remove that 100% from the board.
There's also a card called You're Having an Episode that you can play onto somebody's untreated ailment in order to cause a bad effect, making them discard cards from their hand or not draw during their next turn or something like that. Skip a turn, some of those. Mm-hmm. And that pretty much covers it.
Yeah.
And again, very simple and straightforward. Certainly not too thinky or anything.
Right. It's super quick to learn and to get to the table and play. Something also really appealed to me on this was that the game directions were written like a prescription.
Yes.
Which was really cool. And the directions itself are also written like a prescription.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would say is even though it's light in terms of like complexity and thinkiness, it does say ages 14 plus on the box, and I think that's more down to the subject matter.
Right.
It's really not a kid's game.
No.
Even though it's like very simple and easy and just a card game. Yeah, so just be aware of that if it's something that sounds interesting to you.
Yeah.
Now, potentially a kid's game.
All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Munchkin. Specifically, we played the Scooby-Doo version of Munchkin. So Munchkin is the game that like got me into the hobby. I used to play this in college all of the time. One of my friends had Munchkin, and it was a game that we played like constantly. I've played several different versions of Munchkin. I know like the zombie version, there's a Marvel version, there's Scooby-Doo, there's like a million different themes of this. But the main idea of Munchkin is that you are trying to get your character to level 10. So you do that by defeating monsters. So you try to defeat monsters, you play cards down to like boost your stats so that you can like be stronger against those monsters. You can give like other people curses and things like that to like kind of prevent them from getting there. You can also like add other monsters on for them to fight, or like boost up the monsters they're fighting to like prevent them from getting up to that level 10. But it's basically a race to level 10. So as soon as you get to level 10, you win. The different themes, I think, like do pull in different like, I don't know, aspects to the game. The Scooby-Doo version was really fun, and it had like a different, something I've never seen in Munchkin before, where it had different locations that you were at. And so depending on what location we were at as like characters, that affected some other parts of the gameplay, which I thought was kind of a fun little twist on it. There were also vehicle cards, which I've not seen before, so that was that was fun as well.
That's true.
Again, they kind of just give you like another boost, but the vehicle cards kind of played off of each other a little. And I love Scooby-Doo. Have so much Scooby-Doo, honestly. I absolutely love it. And so I loved that like this version of it, it was so like Scooby-Doo thematic for the characters, the show, like even the monsters. Like I knew the names of all of the monsters as they were coming up, so that was really fun. I actually
love Scooby-Doo.
I do.
I've seen it like most people have seen it, which is, you know, it was on TV once in a while in my childhood.
Sure.
And many of the things I could even still recognize. Yeah, I wouldn't have known the name or like the episode they were from, but like they just had like that signature look, and it's mostly stylized after like the original 70s cartoon and stuff as well. Not so many of the different iterations that have come out over the years.
He's not a fan of this one.
Yeah.
So Munchkin has some rules, but a lot of them are like open to interpretation on purpose.
Yeah.
And he like really doesn't like that.
I'll say I hate Munchkin.
Yeah.
I play it for Ashley's sake, and obviously for you, a large part of it is nostalgia.
Yeah.
But you've also expressed, you know, that you were playing it with like, you know, just a fun group of friends who were all like having a really good time with it. It was a big group. It was kind of like almost a party game in a way, in terms of like the rowdiness and the kind of like jokes and stuff that would come from it, right?
Yeah.
I've only ever played it with like just you, and
which is not the ideal player count.
Yeah.
Either. You're really supposed to play with like, I think it's 3 to 6 players.
And I don't think that when we first started playing it, you provided me with that context of what it was supposed to be. So I just approached it like, oh yeah, this is going to be like a strategy board game or something.
Yeah.
And it is not.
No.
It is real loosey-goosey, and that does not jive with me.
Yeah.
You know, I like when I can be in party game mode, like that's fun. I can like make games a good time and stuff, but this one didn't feel like that to me, and it still kind of doesn't even, just like at the 2 players. So I'm just playing it to try and get to those 10 points first and like be as optimal as possible. And like I constantly just have questions about like, how does this work? Why does this work this way? It doesn't make sense. And a lot of that, like in the rules, at least in the original version, it like tells you to like argue about it and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that would be part of the fun of the experience. And that's just not my kind of board game thing at all.
He needs
I
rules.
want rules. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also like part of it too is like the story that you kind of create as a character as you're playing and like with the other characters.
Yeah, that's true. I'm
like
not looking at like even the names of the cards I'm playing, or let alone the flavor text and stuff.
Yeah, you like don't pay and that's like
I'm
a
just looking at
huge
the
part
numbers.
of this. It's a huge part of this for sure. So if you're like not paying attention to those things, yeah, it's not going to be as good of an experience. Also, yeah, unfortunately, like we have only played it at 2, which is really not you're not even supposed to play it at 2. You can, but it's just very like take that with each other, as opposed to when you're playing with more players, like you all kind of work together. When you see somebody getting close to level 10, you're like, okay, what can you do? What can you do? Okay, well, I need to make sure I save things for this other person who's getting close for next time. So it becomes more of like a discussion and like a conversation, and almost like where you're really like creating like more of a little bit of a story versus, you know, just
Interaction wise, there's also that rule about that you can ask for help to defeat a monster. Like if you draw one that's like a level like way above you, you can bring in like other people's stats to boost yours, and then like share some of the rewards with them.
Right.
And that's probably much more of a thing to be doing in a larger group as well.
Yeah.
When it's the 2 of us, I just don't want to do it.
He doesn't want to ask for help ever. He just is like, I'm not going to help you.
Why would I give you a treasure?
Me.
I want the treasure. It's fine.
It's not the point. You're really supposed to interact more than like we do. Yeah. No. So
just
we need to try this one maybe with more people, but I do like this version of it though. Like I have played a lot of different versions, and I think something with like the original 2 that they have, I think, fixed in a lot of the newer ones that have come out is just being able to track your stats as far as what level you're at. We used to have to use like little gems or like, you know, chits or something to like track it. Something else that was interesting about this one that I don't think I've seen on some other ones, but it's been a long time since we've played like a newer one, is the characters themselves had ability. So like I played as Scooby-Doo and you were Shaggy, and they each had their own ability on the cards, which I think also was pretty fun to kind of have like a base like starting thing that you were able to do. This one's like, you know, he plays it for my sake, I guess, but I still enjoy it. It's fun, and I did enjoy this version. I have a rough time with
this one though. It's just, kind of my nightmare. So.
Yeah.
Rolling Realms.
Yes.
The most meta board game.
So Rolling Realms is a Stonemaier game, and basically what they did was they took like other huge games that they've released that are, you know, very familiar to people, and they created different like objectives that match like those
really
games.
Like mini games
for each.
And they,
for example,
in a loose
like,
way represent how those games play.
Right. So you're playing Viticulture or Wingspan or Charterstone or Tapestry, and you're trying to. It's a roll and write game. So you're rolling it. You roll 2 die, and then everybody gets to use those 2 die to take certain like as many actions as you can. You get basically 2 actions unless you kind of get bonuses. And you're trying to complete the objectives of each of the mini games.
Yeah.
So, I love this one. It's super fun. I also like that it does kind of like, it's like the Avengers of board games. Like you bring all the board games together.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially because now I know with expansions or like the Redux content version, they've expanded beyond just Stonemaier games. Right. So they've broadened their horizons and just include like other popular games, and like it does kind of.
Yeah, I think Meadow and Dog Park.
It has that Avengers Assemble aspect, I guess.
Yeah, I really like that. I love flip and write, roll and write games, and so this one I think is just super fun.
And it's quickly become one of your favorites of those.
Yeah,
I think
very quickly.
Right? It's kind of a fairly new to us game. We played it towards the end of last year, one time with friends, and then Ashley immediately had to go get her own copy of it. Yeah. And we played it a good half dozen times, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. What is it about it that speaks to you beyond any other of the roll and writes? Not any of them. Like, it's not like probably a little.
I really like that you are kind of playing like these like mini games, and depending on like which ones come out together, because you always play like you do 3 rounds and you do 3 of those games at once. So some of them like jive very well together. Some of them you really have to work at them a lot more, or some are just difficult in general. They're going to be hard no matter what you do. You
always want to try to like max out the points from each of the 3 realms, but it's pretty rare that you actually get to do all the things to full completion like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you have to try to like optimize as much as possible because you only get so many rolls. I don't know. It's almost like playing like mini arcade games to like build up to like a full game or something like that too.
Yeah, I feel like the look and vibe of it is even sort of like arcade game-esque.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's just me, but I was quite taken with this at first as well because I did like the meta aspect of it. You know, a lot of those games were things I was familiar with, and So trying to kind of like decipher like, okay, well, why are you doing the things in this minigame this way? Oh, because that's how it is in the game. Like, even if there's like a loose semblance of that, like I thought figuring that stuff out as we played was really, really cool. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, honestly, this one has kind of like fallen off a cliff for me. Just because you have a tendency with roll and writes, or even any sort of like game that you get like really, really into, to want to just like play it into the ground. And I don't think we've quite gotten there, but that's because I've been like, I don't want to play that anymore. Like, we've played that, you know?
Yeah. It's been very sad.
But I was, like, very excited about it the first couple times as well, and I don't think I really had an issue with you, like, wanting to get our own copy so we could keep playing it. But then, yeah, after, I don't know, maybe the third or fourth time, that initial discovery of, like, how the different realms work, and we had played through, like, all the cards at least a couple times at that point, you know, because there was enough variation that you're not going to use them all in every game, right, which is a nice touch as well. But then it was just like, well, now where do we go? And yeah,
you get better and better at it. That's what you
guess.
Get.
Yeah, I mean, it's still good and fine, but I don't like it as much as I used to like it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something else.
Most games that doesn't happen with either, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
You're not a huge fan of roll and writes or flip and writes either.
No,
I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I love this one. This has become like a new like favorite for me, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know if we'll get the Redux one. I feel like I'm getting like what I want out of this one, and I don't know if that would add a ton more, but perhaps we will down the road. We'll see.
Well, they also have just like individual packs, I think, like promo packs for like a certain game.
Oh.
So maybe if there's one that's just like, oh, I love that
really
game.
Jumping out at me. Yeah, that could be fun.
Well, this one's falling apart inside too.
This one's always, we need like this one. You know, I hate the rubber band thing, but this might be the game to do the rubber bands with.
This has seen a lot of love, and it is worn in every way possible.
It sure is. All right, so this is just one. So the idea behind this one is you're playing cooperatively as a group. It is a party game. It's for like 3 to 7 players. You place a card in front of you on your like little board, and whoever's turn it is like can't see that card.
Right.
There's numbers 1 through 5 with 5 different words on it, and then that person will pick one of the numbers, and everyone else will have to give them a clue. So for example, if they said 2 and 2 was chocolate, everyone would write some sort of word that would try to lead them to say the word chocolate. But you can only pick one word. So that's the name of the game, just one. So each person writes a word on their little whiteboard, and then before the person gets to see the clues, they reveal them to each other to see if any of them match. If they do, they cancel each other out, so you don't get to see those. So you only get to see the ones that do not match.
So that's the real crux of the game, is you're trying to think up a word for a clue that obviously will be helpful to the person trying to guess, but won't be so obvious that other players around the table might have also thought of that same word, because then you're not providing any help.
Right. We have played the heck out of this game. Like, we play this game a lot. We also, so like when we played this one this time, and this is like pretty often how we play it now, my niece, who is 5, absolutely loves this game, but we play it with her and my nephew where they just draw instead of write words. They're kind of like just learning. My nephew actually knows how to read pretty well, but my niece is like, she doesn't know how to read yet. She's kind of just learning how to read. So we've been tweaking this game out since, gosh, she was 2 or 3. It's been a long time. Yeah. So she has just been drawing pictures for us, and she could draw pictures basically, and she absolutely loves this game. She calls it the drawing game and doesn't know the actual name of the game. But when we play with her, we'll let her draw pictures, or if it's her turn, we'll draw pictures for her. Mm-hmm. And then we write words for each other generally.
It's not meant to be played that way.
No.
But it is nice that, that variation is possible, because other than possible age restrictions with not being able to like read and stuff, this is a game you could play with anyone.
Right.
Like, it's that type of like party games, that type of like intro, good collection starter type of game. I brought it into my office and played it with like work friends.
We've introduced it to a lot of different people, and it never misses. It's a good
icebreaker type of game and stuff, It's like a game that a lot of people, like, when they try it, they're like, oh yeah, I gotta go get that, even if they aren't into board games. Yeah. They're adding it to their collection of like Cards Against Humanity and like Clue. Yeah. Those types of games, that like it works for that audience as well. It's just like, I don't know. It hits the sweet spot.
It does.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I like dislike about this game is the markers are awful. And every single one of them basically has died on us.
Yeah.
Granted, we've had this game a long time.
Yeah, it's gotten use.
Yeah, we've gotten use out of it, but the markers like don't last very long in this game at all. And we've like considered maybe buying another version or just getting new markers. We actually did get new markers, and those ones aren't great either. So it never misses. It doesn't matter who we've played with, whether it's people who do play board games or really don't play board games. I think it's just a great game.
I guess maybe like Rolling Realms has kind of gone down in my estimation over time as well, just because we really have played it like so much and kind of over it. And at this point, I'm basically just playing it because Allie loves the drawing game.
Right.
You know?
We play it for her.
Yeah, we're not pulling it out with other groups really at this point beyond the family. You know, it's okay that I feel that way now because it really served its purpose for us.
I mean, this is one of probably our most played games ever, honestly, just
maybe
if we add the kid plays in, you know.
Yeah, I mean, something I would recommend for like every collection, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that like we played just one with our family and with my niece and nephew. We also played 2 other games, and we don't have the physical games with us because my family has a summer cottage, and so we keep them up there. I like having like themey games for where we're going, and so 2 of the games that we own are just there and not here, so we don't have the boxes. One of them is Forbidden Island. So Forbidden Island, you have different tiles that are in front of you that create an island. You are trying to prevent the island from sinking, and you're playing cooperatively. So you have to get
the tiles are slowly flipping over.
Yep, they're slowly flooding. Side. Right.
And if a flooded tile is drawn a second time, before you can save it and flip it back to its unflooded side, then it's removed, and the island slowly disappears as it sinks into the water.
Right. You're trying to, there's 4 different idols that you're trying to get, and so you have to get so many cards of each. You have to get 4 cards for each of the idols in order to like claim that idol. So you have to watch and not make sure that the location where you can claim the idol doesn't disappear. And then also there's a lot of like hand management because you can only have, I think it's 6 cards total.
Something
5
like
or
that.
6.
Yeah.
So you really can't have like an enormous amount of cards in your hand, and you want to make sure that you're like discarding, but not discarding so many that like that one isn't going to come up again.
Yeah. This is another very kind of light, easy, beginner, family-friendly game.
Yeah, this is also one that like I've had a very long time. I think it's one of the first ones probably I introduced you to as well.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't get played often anymore, but originally we played the crap out of this game.
Yeah.
As well, when I was like, getting gatewayed back in the day.
Yeah.
This is very much like a pandemic style game.
Yeah.
Crisis management, you have, a few actions to take on your turn with like moving, saving locations, things like that. Then you're collecting, cards that have different like colored symbols on them, trading them around with people at your same locations, trying to make sets and then trade them in. But honestly, even like easier than Pandemic. It's like a proto like onboarding to Pandemic type of game.
Yeah,
so,
it's a pretty light game.
Yeah.
I think this is the second time that I tried to play it with my niece. And she just loves board games. And the funny thing is, like, we always have the same ones,
Shout
right?
out Allie if you're watching.
She always brings the same, she always wants us to play the same board games over and over. We tried this one, like, a while back when she was a little bit younger, and I think it was just a little bit too soon, but she actually did pretty well with it this time. And we did play the game, like, legit, how the rules are designed and everything. I think she's getting to the age where, like, she can do some more complicated games, which was really fun.
I think she called you out on something at one point, actually.
I think she did.
Yeah. You were like trying to get an idol with like not enough cards or something like that.
Yeah, she was like really doing very well with that. I was very impressed actually. So it's fun too when like, you can take games that like we've played a lot for a long time and, introduce them to kind of like the next generation, which is
true.
fun.
Kind of like repurposing it.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I do feel like this is a game that you and I have moved on from a little bit. I know you still like playing it because like it's a perfectly fine game and you get a good enough experience out of it.
It's just like a cozy like
yeah.
And
it's got nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
I remember playing this like we went on a cruise. This was a game that I brought and played on that and stuff. So like we often talk about memories and associations that we have with games and stuff in these types of videos, and I don't think you'll ever probably actually get rid of this game just because it does have like that sentimental value to you. But it living at the cottage away from us is a good place because that means like maybe once a year over the summer we'll play.
Yeah.
You know, and that's good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it was super fun. I was very impressed with Allie's ability to play it this time, actually.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if it's something that she starts asking for over the drawing game, like, I'd be all for that.
Yeah.
So, the second game we played at the cottage was another roll and write called Silver and Gold.
Yes. So that one,
again, sort of water themed.
Yeah.
It's a bit of like Pirate Island treasure map game, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you have different
shapes.
Basically like shapes. Yeah.
It's like a polyomino roll, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like
cartographers.
Tetris a little bit, but yeah. So you get like different cards that you're trying to fill in. You get 2 at a time?
Yes.
Right. And so like when you complete that one, you can grab another card and like fill that in. On those cards, there are different shapes that come up. So there's cards that you're flipping, and then maybe it's like a straight line or it's, you know, an L shape or something, and then you use that shape to fill in your card in front of you.
Yeah, the cards are, they sort of look like a crossword puzzle type of shape.
Yeah.
You know, if you think of like different rows and columns extended in different lengths and directions.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where like fitting the different Tetris type shapes into that figures in. It's not just like a square that you're trying to like complete.
Right.
Like some polynomial games.
So you're trying to complete like as many cards as possible, and then also on those cards there are additional like icons. So if there's an X, then the X will let you cross off like an additional square somewhere, which can often be very helpful when you get like trapped and you can't fill the whole thing in. There's also coins. So the coins, there are
Gold doubloons.
Trophies that you're shooting for, and whoever kind of gets 4 coins at once gets to take like the next highest numbered trophy. So you want to kind of like compete to get those faster. And then there's also
palm trees.
Palm trees, right? And palm trees you score based on how many palm trees are currently available. It's a pretty straightforward, like easy game. I think it's like
again
light and
yep,
not too difficult to introduce to other
simpler
people.
rolling right compared to rolling realms.
Yeah,
by quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah, but still good.
Yeah, it's a good one. This is also one that we've had a really long time as well, and it's fun to pull it out up there. It's also something where, you know, we often like will bring games to my family's cottage when we're there, but we want to
check out our packing for trips video that we just did, and how we bring way too many games everywhere we go.
Yes, we do. But it's also one that like you can do and kind of like still be conversing with other people. So if they don't want to play or whatever, you can do that. And it's also one that like we have played with them.
Is that a good thing to say about a game though? I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's like...
You mean it as a compliment, but I don't know if it is. The best thing about this game, awesome markers.
Yes, really good
Just
markers.
one, and we didn't talk about it with Rolling Realms, but like Rolling Realms, like I said, we probably played that like 5-6 times since we bought it, and like most of the markers are already gone.
They're hit and miss. Even from opening the box, they're hit and miss.
That's true.
Yeah.
Those ones started off
for
bad.
Rolling Realms.
Yeah, but there's just one markers have died. Silver and Gold going strong.
Yeah,
many plays in many years. Yeah. So it wouldn't be one of our monthly recaps if we didn't talk about any button shot games.
Right.
Which again, if you're not familiar, unique company that makes all these small 18-card wallet-sized games. Mm-hmm. They come in all different shapes and sizes. Well, technically, neither of those things are true. They're always this shape and this size. But the nature of the games vary wildly. And this one, Revolver Noir, is, again, one of the most unique ones we've done.
Yeah.
Does not feel like your standard type of card game.
Right.
So.
This one is a deduction game where you are...
It's an interesting way to think of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're trying to deduce where each other is.
It's almost like a video game, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
Where you're like, you know, moving around trying to like, it's like a shooter game.
It is, yeah. So you are in a house and you're starting in like potentially different or the same rooms of the house. You pick like a location that you start at and you're trying to figure out where the other player is and like shoot them twice. And if you shoot them twice, then you win.
Right.
We've played it twice so far. Mm-hmm. And each room has like kind of their own ability. So they connect to certain other rooms or they have like an ability on that room where you can do like a special action. You get 2 actions per turn and you're trying to deduce like where the other person is and like hit them twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You play it entirely in your hand.
Yes.
Essentially, you keep the cards like in a stack and whatever the front of the stack is. That's your current room.
Right.
You know, so you keep that hidden from the other player so they can't like suss out your location.
Yep. And there's a map card that you can kind of like see how the rooms connect and where they are located as well.
So again, pretty simple. Button shies often are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a specifically like 2-player version. They do a lot of like solo games and stuff. But like compared to the other 2-player button shies that we have, which feel like just kind of like condensed down, really like simplified card games, this is like really its own beast, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think is super cool.
This one's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we love it or anything just yet, or like where it would fall in our like overall button shy rankings. Because we often do talk about like, okay, well, where does this sit relative to other button shies? Because these can be hard to compare to like other types of games, right? Like how would you like rank like Tussie Mussy against like Ark Nova? Kind of hard to do. But you can do it on the scale of button shies.
Right.
I don't know where this one falls yet, but I'm at least very impressed with like what it's doing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I agree.
You're not laying out like a grid of cards. There's not like a deck that you're drawing from like into your hand. You're not like playing cards out or whatever. It's like, again, almost like a video game or an RPG or something like that. And
it's very, very
like
unique.
a cool thing to have somebody to have designed it. And again, to fit it into like the 18 card wallet.
Right.
Yeah.
I think of the button shies we have, this is the only other one that plays in your hand besides Numpsters.
Right.
And that's something I love about Numpsters
Yes.
is that you can play it in your hand.
Yes.
And so it doesn't take up
Right,
a
like
lot
one
of
of our
space.
plays was in a car.
Yeah, we were waiting somewhere and we played in the car and it was super easy. Yeah, I mean, I did beat Ethan both times. So I don't know if that like soured your experience or anything.
It's a very low stakes game.
Yeah,
I'm not that worried about it.
Right.
It plays fast, which is nice too.
Yeah, it is fast. The funny thing is, I think both times we started in the same room as each other too, or at least pretty close to where each other was, which is kind of funny.
Maybe we think too alike. That's the problem with this game is like it is sort of like, again, you describe it as deduction. I don't know if it's like quite that, but you do need to get inside the other person's head a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and so.
Yeah, this one probably would be pretty high on my button shies, like just because it is so unique and different. I don't know. We'll have to play it more for sure, but it's been like a good one, especially for like traveling. It was a great one where like
that's true.
Again, we didn't need any like space to be able to play it either.
Yeah.
So Codenames. Specifically, we played the Harry Potter version of Codenames. So we have 2 versions of Codenames. We have a Harry Potter and a Disney version. Codenames just in general, the idea is that you have a grid of cards in front of you. They have either pictures or words on them, and you are playing
normally it's like spies trying to pass secret messages to each other.
Right. You are playing like as a team, like against another team generally.
Oh yeah.
So you are trying to give clues to get your team to guess those clues. So you have one person who is like the person giving the clues, and the rest of the people you're playing with are guessing the clues. And you'll give clues where you're trying to connect as many of the cards that are in front of you as possible. So for example, in like the Harry Potter version, maybe there are 2 of them that are related to owls. So you would say like owls 2, and you're trying to get the person to like point to the 2 cards that you are trying to get them to guess. There are also generally like assassins, or in this version, Death Eaters. Where if they guess that card, it's an automatic loss. So you want to be very careful to not get them to say that. And then there's usually like bystanders, or I don't know if they're just muggles in this version. I'm not sure. But they're cards that aren't either team. They're not assassin cards. They don't hurt anything, but they're just incorrect.
Codenames is a wildly popular game.
Yeah.
Gateway game for a ton of people. It's one that I had actually played a couple times, like way back a few years before Ashley and I knew each other or got together, and you started like introducing me to more games. And I liked it at the time, so I think it was one that I kind of like pushed for us getting like pretty early on. And I remember like you just not being very taken with it when we first tried it, I don't think. And maybe now it's like slowly risen in your estimation, but I still don't get the impression that it's a game you like really get that much out of, I guess.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorite games. This version actually, so we had the like Disney version for a long time, and I think before we got together, I had the Disney version.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But this version we had for a really long time. It was sitting on our shelf, and we actually talked about like purging it and getting rid of it at one point. And then I was like, you know what, let's try it. And the cool thing about this one is that it's kind of like Codenames Duet, where you can play as two people. Co-op.
Yeah.
Right, which is really cool.
You always like co-oping.
Oh, I love co-oping. Yeah. But I really like this version specifically because you each have the card between you, and you each have like different cards you're trying to get the person to say. They could match each other, or like one of the things I always find like crazy is if I have like a Death Eater card that's gonna like, you know, be the assassin that would end the game, but you're trying to get me to say that card,
right?
Because it's one of your cards that you're trying to get me to guess. Like that always freaks me out to like guess that one, because on my side it might be that, but on your side it's not. Something else that's really neat about this one is that there is like a campaign kind of.
It's like, not a campaign for sure, but it's sort of like an objective or like achievement list.
Yeah.
I'm seeing on the back it's actually called like a mission log, but basically it gives you like extra goals to go for as you're playing multiple rounds over time and seeing like how well you can do, and also incorporating I think more stuff from like the Harry Potter story.
Right.
It's something we haven't interacted with when we've played, because really this has like hit the table so few times for us over the years. But I just think it's really like a nice touch that they threw that in as a little bit of like extra.
Yeah.
Right. Overall, like this is a version that just seems like you're getting pretty good bang for your buck out of it.
Yeah.
Right. I would guess most gamers have at least one copy of Codenames, if not different iterations. And this is kind of like all of them in one, because it gives you like the regular words. It also gives you the picture alternate backside of the cards. Mm-hmm. Gives you the ability to play competitive normal style or co-op duet style.
Yeah.
And it's got like extra like sub-game goal kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So
I really like this version for sure. And I'm glad that we like did decide to play it, because as soon as we kind of played it that way, we were like, oh, this is neat. And
you
it's
had
like
a fun time with it this last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this has been one that like I really wasn't sure about, and it's been growing on me more, which is kind of nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe we can try to get it played a little bit more, but I think I have found other Codename adjacent games that like do it for me like more these days, like Decrypto and stuff, you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm not like early on it might have been a little like been out of shape that you didn't really want to play it, but like now like it's cool, and if it gets played and we have a great time, great, and if not, there's other things out there as well that are scratching that itch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
And now to round things out, one of Ashley's favorite games.
Yes.
Creature Comforts.
Creature Comforts.
This is a KTBG game, which is kids' tables board gaming. So I think meant to be especially like friendly towards young kids and families and stuff like that, and serve as a kind of good introduction to like worker placement type games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this could be like a kid's like first worker placement game, which is really cool.
And it's able to be a real game at the same time.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we get total satisfaction out of it.
Yeah, it is. So the idea of this is that you're playing as cute little creatures. You pick like a certain animal that you're playing as, and then you are trying to prepare for the winter. So you're trying to get different like comforts and like basically like make your home like as cozy as possible and ready for the winter.
The coziest of cozy games.
Yes, it really is.
For sure.
So what you'll do is like on your turn you have 2 family die that you roll, and then there are 4 village die that are shared. So you roll the 2 family die, and then you decide where you want to put your workers out before you see what the village die are. And those die like numbers will determine like if you're able to achieve whatever you kind of put your workers out for. So you have to put them out before you know what those village die might come up as. So they could, you know, come up fine and you're able to do all of the things that you put your workers out for, or they could really not roll in your favor.
Yep.
And then you get what's called a lesson learned.
Yeah, that's like a bit of compensation for basically wasting an action that it's not much, you know. It definitely feels worse to like miss out on like not getting to fulfill each of your workers and what you're trying to do with them, but at least it's like a little something.
Right.
Yeah. You can use that for future rounds. The lesson learns will let you adjust a die to different numbers so that hopefully then you can achieve what you're going for.
Yeah. I really like this one too. It is worker placement, but it's really not super competitive. It's like really meant to be very cozy and like not co-op, but just like very like a very friendly game.
Yeah. You still want to win this game, but you want to do it without being a jerk.
Right.
Right. There's a bit of positive player interaction where certain cards that you can buy that serve as sort of like upgrades to your like burrow or your nest or whatever you're building will have an actual dice placement spot on them. Mm-hmm. That even though it's your card in your area, either player can put a die there on their turn.
Right.
But if the other players do, then you get like a small bonus out of it as well.
Right.
So it's like incentivizing it's that type of positive player interaction.
Yeah.
And even in the rules, it talks about like that sort of like friendliness, you know, where like clearly maybe that's a bit of the kid element, but it's not meant to be like very like cutthroat. It's just kind of like we can all get along and we can all make our nice homes comfortable together.
Yeah. I mean, there is still a winner at the end. It's whoever has the most points at the end wins, but
yeah, and you and I definitely still like we compete about it, right?
Yeah. So you're really not like blocking each other. I think the only way that you can kind of do that maybe is through the comfort cards, like if you took a comfort card that I wanted. But a lot of the times too, like you don't even know what I'm trying to go for. Like we kind of maybe pay attention more so than like you would if you were playing as a more family version.
That's true. Yeah.
Again,
but I think we're not vicious and cutthroat about it either,
right.
Yeah.
It's just a very cozy, like fun game, and you're playing through 4 seasons, so
it's got pretty nice art, like storybook kind of looking stuff, cute meeples, decent components. There's a lot of different resource types and they have a pretty cool look to them.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is, as we mentioned, like one of Ashley's favorite games, and to me it's like it's pretty good, solid.
Yeah. Something else too, like with this play, like this round, like I did play solo first actually, and then you decided you wanted to play.
Yeah, so you played twice.
Yeah, so I actually played it twice. And this might be one of my like favorite games that you can solo with. Because a lot of times, like when you do a solo version of a game, it changes the entire game. Like actually Ark Nova, I hate doing the solo version of Ark Nova. There is like a fan-made one that's better. But I really like that this game, the only difference is that you just play like there's like a short version and a long version of the game. You play the short version of it just to make it not as long for yourself. And then also you pull out a couple of cards that just like would be player interaction. Yeah. So you would just pull those out. But other than that, it's the same thing. And even at the end, like you're basically trying to like get the highest score you can, but it doesn't even like tell you like, oh, you did good or bad. It's like it gives you a fun creature name at the end to say what type of creature and critter you are.
Was that the first time you played this solo?
No, I've played it solo before, but it's been a while since I've done it that way. But it's super enjoyable. I like it solo and, you know, playing with other players.
Last thing I wanted to say is Ashley has around half a dozen or so of what I like to call medium light, cute animal worker placement games. And this is definitely one of those.
Yeah.
It might be the first one actually that you got. I can't remember. But it's pretty solid as far as that goes, right?
Yeah.
Like some of those I tend to like poo-poo on, and maybe I have in some of our past videos, and I probably will in some of our future videos as well. But like creature comforts, I really have like no issues with, you know. I don't adore it the way you do or whatever, but like solid B, like right down the middle type of game.
Yeah, it's a great game. I also can see like when, you know, we talked about my niece and nephew, like when they get a little bit older, like this would be a great game to introduce them to that is, you know, a cute theme that is something where it would teach them like harder mechanics for games. So if they want to play more games with us, this is like a great introductory game. So I do love that like KTPG games like tend to do that as well.
All right, well that brings May to a close.
Yes.
Overall, solid month of gaming. If you've played any of these and you agree with our takes on them, or more importantly, if you disagree, let us know in the comments down below. You know, we love talking about this stuff and having debates. You know, we're excited to be getting to the near halfway point of the year, halfway through the challenge. It's been a fun one so far, but we have some thoughts about it that might be coming down the road as well, so watch out for that. And to make sure you don't miss our June recap, like and subscribe. You'll be able to catch all our videos that way.
Yes, and if you want to follow along with us live too, we do have an Excel sheet in the description. We put that in all of the monthly recap descriptions, so feel free to follow along live, see what games we have played so far this year, haven't played, and what we're playing as we
check them off.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Game on.
Game on.